Creepypastas. Back in the good old days of the internet, these were everywhere. They were infesting every single corner. Any edgy 12-year-old with an internet connection, a keyboard, and way too much time on their hands could post their own edgy OCs online for the entire world to see. To mixed results. In fairness, there are some genuinely great stories within this genre. For example, 1999 and the strangest security tape I've ever seen. However, for every one great creepypasta, there's probably 5 more that are, well, of a more mixed quality, and even worse ones that are, well, the literary equivalent of passing a kidney stone. Yet, despite all of that, I still have a massive amount of nostalgia for creepypastas. So, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to go down memory lane and revisit these stories and answer once and for all, were these classic creepypastas actually good? While he is iconic, looking back on it, Jeff the Killer is kind of ass. The plot is just a series of increasingly edgy and bizarre events happening until the story just stops. Still, after its release and subsequent viral popularity, the internet was drawn into a gold rush. Left and right, people were on that grind, writing their own stories about emo sad boy serial killers to cash in on the craze. Cause, obviously, the world needed more of this.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Some of these inspired works went on to have fan bases and cult-like followings of their own. And the most famous of these, undoubtedly, would be Eyeless Jack, which gained himself a modest little bit of the viral pie. The gist of the story is that there is a guy named Mitch who awakens one night and notices a suspicious giant gash in his body. So he decides to go to the hospital and learns that he is missing a kidney. The doctor who told him this proceeds to offer no help or concern outside of a half-hearted apology and basically tells him to fuck off, which is probably an accurate portrayal of the American healthcare system. Am I right, Americans? He proceeds to go home to business as usual, only to encounter Eyeless Jack in the dead of night. He flees, only to trip on a rock and knock himself out, and awakens in the hospital, only for the exact same doctor to inform him that his brother is dead. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he had a brother who was kind of important, but... Then he goes back to his house and sees his brother's body that's still there for some reason. The end. Despite the less than stellar quality of the story and the others surrounding it, these stories gained massive amounts of viral attention, inspiring many fan fictions, fan arts. It almost feels like the actual quality of these stories took a backseat to the idea of just having a gimmick that people could latch onto themselves and mold into something else. It even got to the point where fans would make their own sequels to the original Jeff the Killer story. For example, Jeff the Killer, but woman. On the topic of recycling ideas, lost episode stories are a monolith, and by that I mean if you've read one of them, you've basically read most of them. One of the first big lost episode stories is the aptly titled Dead Bart. Oh gosh, I wonder what happens in this one. This is one of the stories that really brought the genre into the public eye and popularized it. And at first, they were actually very creative. However, since their explosive popularity on the internet, a lot of these stories follow a cookie cutter template. So let's go through it. Act 1. The writer either researches or randomly happens upon the lost episode at a garage sale or something. The writer then proceeds to watch the lost episode. Act 2. Spooky things happen, like characters dying or flashing spooky images. Bonus points if it's hyper-realistic. The writer then becomes unreasonably traumatized by watching these spooky cartoons. Act 3. The writer then contacts the creators of the original show, And then, unsatisfying cliffhanger. While some stories in this genre, like Lost Episodes, no seriously, that's the name of the story, do something interesting with the concept and expand upon it, the majority are just, well, cliche shock value. Like for example, what if SpongeBob was a serial killer? What if Mickey Mouse made you end yourself? What if Bugs Bunny committed tax fraud? And after many years, these stories all faded into irrelevancy due to their cookie-cutter nature. However, in modern times, a powerful light has shone upon these stories and given them new life. And that light's name is Vibing Leaf. Vibing Leaf's retake series has essentially modernized all of these stories and actually given them elves in the fact that it takes what are quite simplistic stories that are just made for shock value and actually expanded upon them, realized the full potential of their concepts. I know everyone watching this video who even has a mild interest in creepypastas have already watched Vibing Leaf's entire back catalogue, but seriously though, shout out to Vibing Leaf. Slenderman is seen as one of the seminal creepypastas, and arguably the most famous one of them all. There's just a dark aura that surrounds the character that gives a feeling of unease and a fear of the unknown. You know what's needed in order to improve this character? Of course, a cast of wacky family members. Of course, you have the all-time hood classics such as Slender Man, Trender Man, and Offender Man. Gosh, I wonder what this guy's deal is. Oh, I didn't know this guy was a Minecraft YouTuber, or a Hollywood producer, or a... So, in conclusion, are there any lessons that we can learn from all of this? Well, actually, there is one. Never look back on your memories and never have nostalgia, because you will inevitably be disappointed. Okay, in all seriousness, I didn't want this video to come off as too mean-spirited. While I do have lots of nostalgia for these creepypastas, as when I was younger I used to obsessively watch YouTube videos of people reading them, I just thought it'd be, a bit fun to go back over them with a more critical eye.